Today I'm going to be speaking about the good reasons to get a Kindle and the reasons that seem good but are actually crap reasons to get a Kindle, and it may not be as straightforward as you initially think. I'm a relatively new member to the ebook reader owning club. I only just recently got a Kindle, and guess what? Case I brought my Kindle. Yes, no prizes for guessing. But nonetheless, I was super excited to get my Kindle, and it has kicked off a new habit where I now read every night before I go to bed. And to be fair, that was not the Kindle's doing. It was kind of my own fault for not doing that prior to owning a Kindle. Nonetheless, I'm very happy with the new habit and also pretty happy with the Kindle too. But when I bought the Kindle, I didn't exactly buy it for the right reasons. And this was not 100% my fault. The reasons that are publicized, promoted, and propagated about why people should be buying Kindles and ebook readers aren't exactly true in all circumstances. So, full disclosure, I do not know your personal circumstances, and I cannot know your personal circumstances, so listen to this carefully and decide whether it applies to you or not. But many of the reasons I bought the Kindle are not actually good reasons at all. So I'm going to take you through some actually crap reasons to buy a Kindle, some reasons that are actually good to buy a Kindle, and then give you my recommendation at the end. Now, the first actually crap reason to buy a Kindle is that it's the cheapest option in the long run. And let's just take a look at my Kindle again. I bought this Kindle on Amazon Prime Day, which is the day that Amazon products are usually at their cheapest. I also bought the cheapest Kindle that was available at the time, which is their All New Kindle, ironically named as it is not their newest device. But it cost me 110 Australian dollars. I then paid an extra 99 cents to get a collection of 50 literature works. So $1. $1 for 50 books seems like a really good deal. In reality, it's $111 for 50 books, but still not too bad. You know what's better, though, than $111? Free. And that's exactly what you get by going to a library. Libraries are literally designed to be a library of books that you can borrow and read at any time. They are the undisputed king of the cheapest option. You might be like, oh, but I'm referring to buying paper books versus the ones on the Kindle. Well, are paper books cheaper than getting a Kindle and then Kindle books? Yes and no. It does depend on your circumstances. Depends how long you're going to keep the Kindle for and how often you read. Nowadays, there are discount bookstores where you can get very popular titles for $10 or even less. Not always, but nonetheless. And there's also, if you're willing to look further into it, second-hand stores where you can get like 10 books for 50 cents. So it does depend where you're looking and what books you're wanting to get. Is it the cheapest option though? No, it's not. The second actually crap reason to get a Kindle is it's better for the environment. And I know we've all been fed pictures of trees being cut down to make books, and obviously they have to be, and it's miserable and it's really sad. But books turn into paper waste once they've been done being used. And paper waste can decompose. We can also grow more trees. You know what's worse for the environment than paper waste? E-waste. That's exactly what our Kindles turn into when we stop using them. They're made of plastic and metal and all sorts of bits, and it's absolutely horrific to look into what happens to our e-waste. A lot of it ends up in third world countries where people who are suffering with poverty are literally mining our ex-devices to find trace amounts of gold and other materials they can sell, and then burning them in huge piles, creating toxic fumes that can suffocate or cause respiratory problems or all sorts of horrible things. And it takes far longer for it to decompose. I don't know if it even does decompose or be dealt with than paper waste would. In reality, you might be like, oh, but I only get a Kindle once every 10 years. You're probably still better off buying paper books over that course of 10 years than you are buying a Kindle when it comes to the environment. So is it better for the environment? No. The third actually crap reason to get a Kindle is that the backlight is good for reading at night. And this one really hit me where it hurts because that's one of the main reasons I wanted to get a Kindle. As you heard, I'm reading before I go to sleep at night. But this is something that I think a lot of people have grown up with. The idea that if you read in dim light, your vision will impair and then eventually you will go blind. This is like an old wives' tale. It's now been scientifically disproven. If you read in dim light, what happens is your eyes adjust to the light. It's actually better to be getting less light later at night because it'll help you falling asleep. What has been scientifically proven also is that staring at a screen for too long will impair your vision and can eventually cause you to have eyesight problems. And unfortunately, when you turn the backlight or the front light on with a Kindle, the effect is pretty much identical to your eyes as an iPad screen or a phone screen or a laptop screen or a television. It's still a screen. So in reality, it's worse for your eyes. And it gets even worse after that. If you read before you go to bed, which is again what I wanted to do, because reading before bed is absolutely great and a great way to prepare yourself for sleep and get yourself relaxed. If you're reading off a screen, or even if you're staring at a screen, if you're looking at a screen in any way, shape, or form, it's been scientifically proven that you're going to get worse sleep. It's going to take you longer to get to sleep, and you're going to get less of that deep sleep, the deep restorative, quick eye movement sleep that gives you the amazing memory and immune system and superpowers and whatnot. You're going to get less of that. So essentially, the backlight is great for reading before you go to bed. Not if you're thinking about your health. No, it's not. I was quite seriously considering getting the Oasis Kindle, which in retrospect, I think it's ludicrous. But at the time I was thinking, it's got the yellow tinted pages and anything to help with sleep is worth it. You know what's better than the yellow tinted pages? Turning off the backlight or front light on your Kindle device. Turn it off. Use a lamp or use the light in your room and just let the reflection of the light on the Kindle be what lights up the words, much like a book. That is the best thing you can do for your eyes and for your sleep, because then your mind will no longer treat it like a screen and it's not going to affect your eyes like a screen. So if you want the best thing before you go to bed, it's not a backlight. It's not a backlight on a Kindle, and it's definitely not a screen. So the fourth, and this is not exactly a crap reason to get a Kindle, but it's a crap reason to upgrade your Kindle to one which has more space. And this idea of having more space is very prevalent in modern society. You can tell that from the sales of cars. Apparently nowadays, people are buying less small cars and more big cars. People want bigger houses, people want bigger everything, and people definitely want more space on their electronic devices. It is a great marketing tactic, and people are very, very easily going to be buying into it. When it comes to Kindles, however, if you are using them to read books, which I'm going to get to in a moment, you should be, then you can store 2,200 books on a 4 gigabyte Kindle. Kindles used to be 2 gigabytes, and you could store 1,100 books. Honestly, 2 gigabytes is more than enough. 2,200 books though. Let's work with the cheapest currently available Kindle. 4 gigabytes will give you 2,200 books. If you keep your Kindle for 10 years, which is more than most people keep their electronic devices before upgrading, but if you happen to be frugal and you keep it for 10 years, that means you're going to have to read 220 books a year to get through the space on your Kindle. That means more than one book every 2 days. Now, unless you're some sort of maverick that reads morning till night and you have great speed reading abilities, it's unlikely you're going to get through all that. But happenstance, you are one of those amazing people that read super quickly and very large quantities. And you get through 2,200 books. You have limitless space in the cloud on the internet where you can store the 2,200 books you've read and then download another 2,200. That comes with your Kindle. You don't need an extra 4 gigabytes. Most people don't even need the 4 gigabytes to start with. You might be like, but Mary, I want to use the audiobook functionality. I have no idea how they managed to sell the idea of audiobooks on Kindles to people. This here is the world's most inconvenient MP3 player. It's large. It's not handy. Chances are you've already got a phone that's on you 24/7. It already has the ability to download audiobooks. Use your phone. Use your laptop. This is not the best device for it. There's no plug where you can plug in your headphones. And it's just honestly not a great idea. It's not a great idea. My phone comes with like at least 32 gigabytes of memory, maybe 64, I don't even know. But by default, even the cheaper options of phones come with a lot more memory, and it's just a lot smarter to do that. Who really uses their their Kindle as an audiobook holder? Really? If you do, feel free to comment below and yell at me. But for me, it seems ludicrous. You don't need to upgrade to have more space. Reason number 5, which is actually a crap reason to get a Kindle, and this one again you can argue with me about, so the last two, this one and the one I mentioned earlier, you can argue with me about, but people say that it's great to read comics and manga and whatnot on your Kindle. Now I do know of people that do this, and they have told me that they enjoy doing it, but for me it seems a bit ludicrous. Most Western comics come in color. Even there's quite a bit of manga that comes in color as well nowadays. Manga. But even if you're going to be reading something in color, you can get it in black and white. It's not going to have the full effect. But if you get something that is in black and white and you read it on the Kindle, it's still not designed for that. You know what I mean? You're going to have a far better result reading on your phone or your iPad or your laptop or in physical form. It's a bit unpleasant to do the zooming in and zooming out on the Kindle, and it's quite easy to do on your phone or an iPad, and you're going to get a much better resolution on your phone or your iPad, and if you've got it in real life, that's a lot better too. On top of that, I mean, if it has to be changed and chopped and altered to be on the Kindle, you're not getting the proper reading experience, because most of the time you're not zooming in and out on an image to see the art, although you may be at times. You're reading the work. And if it's kind of altered, I don't know. I don't understand why you would choose the Kindle option when there are other better options available to you that you probably already have at your fingertips. So overall, they're my 5 actually crap reasons to get a Kindle. And actually crap is a pretty strong way of putting it, but I don't think that those are good reasons to get a Kindle. Some of them have been disproven, and some of them I think you're really pushing the point and you'd be better off using other options. Now I'm going to go into some actually good reasons to get a Kindle, because I may have broken your dreams at this point and you may be like, there is no point to getting a Kindle or the sad. Well, don't fear, don't worry. I have some good reasons to get a Kindle as well. And these are mostly things I did not expect. Now, firstly, the things that I did expect that are actually worthwhile. The first one is convenience. Now, big, bulky books can be hard to put in your handbag or your backpack, depending on how thick they are, and that can be unpleasant. And if you're going to be carrying this around, it's a lot simpler and lighter. So that is actually good. And in a lot of cases, that makes a very, very big difference in your life, in the sense that if something is bulky and difficult and takes up huge amounts of room, you're simply not going to take it with you. And then you're not going to read. And then you're going to miss out on the self-improvement, life enrichment, etc. that reading provides. So I actually think that's a pretty good reason to get a Kindle. If you are going to take it with you and are going to use it, when previously you would have not done that because the books were too thick and bulky. Now, the second more obvious good reason to get a Kindle is that it's easier to hold in your hand than some books. And I do say some books because there are some books that are quite comfortable, at least in my hand. I also want to put out the caveat that this is not actually comfortable in your hand. I know they keep showing people holding their books like this. Oh, it's so comfortable. After a while, it gets pretty wearing. It's certainly not a fit in your palm sort of device. It's not like a phone. This is comfortable in the hand. This is not exactly comfortable in the hand. It's not horrible. It's better than some thick, bulky books for sure, but it's not comfortable in the hand. It's good because you can do things one-handed and tap on the screen and hold it at the same time, one-handed. But it's not comfortable to do that for a long time, and after a while, my pinky's going to start hurting because it's having to hold the weight of it, and it's still not the world's most comfortable thing, but it is more comfortable than books, some books, and it's also lighter than some books. keyword is some. But I do still think that's a good reason to get it if you've got thick, bulky books that you want to read, but you just don't have the wrist strength or the tenacity to deal with them. It will improve your life in that way. Now, for the 3 things that I think are actually the most valuable things you can get from a Kindle, and that they don't talk about nearly enough, and these really are the most valuable things you can get from the Kindle, they all come from the same option. So, reasons number, what were we up to? 8, 9, and 10 to get a Kindle are that if you hold your finger down on a word that you don't know, it will give you a definition of that word. And as someone that has, previously mentioned, I am reading literature on my Kindle. I'm reading words that, haven't been used for centuries. I have no idea what they mean. Rather than skipping past them and just vaguely trying to guess what they were or pretending they didn't exist, I can now hold my finger on that word and instantly get a definition of it. This is enriching my reading and learning experience a ton, and it's so easy and convenient to do. It's so, so valuable. So reason number 8 to get a Kindle is that you get instant definitions of words. And really, I don't understand why they don't promote this more. I don't think I could read literature without a Kindle now because it just makes it so much better. I no longer have to guess at words. I can actually understand what I'm reading the whole time. The next reason number 9, is similarly accessed by holding down your finger on a word, and that is getting Wikipedia articles on a word. And this is useful if you've got historical references or pop culture references or some sort of reference in the book that you don't understand. And I've been reading the Divine Comedy, and there's been references to philosophers and whatnot throughout the book, and I haven't known who they are, so I put my finger down on their name, and here I am, quick blurb from Wikipedia. No more than a paragraph, and I know exactly who they are, and I can keep reading now having this context in mind. I think that's very, very valuable because oftentimes in literature you just be like, oh, I guess it's an important person, or maybe it's a character they made up for the book, but now you can properly understand the text and the full gravitas of what the text is trying to convey. So I think reason number 9, the Wikipedia articles. The definitions in Wikipedia articles are so, so useful. And number 10 is translations. Now, my husband has an Italian background and he's been trying to improve his fluency in the language. And he's been reading an Italian book on his Kindle. And when he gets to a word he doesn't understand, he can literally press his finger on that word and he'll get a translation from that word in Italian to that word in English on the spot. And that's really helping him with his language learning. And there's also many texts that have, words in Latin or French or whatnot throughout them, and you can use the device similarly. So those 3 reasons, reason number 8, 9, 10. The definitions, the translations, definitions, Wikipedia articles, and translations. Absolutely freaking invaluable. Very, very, very useful. Now I'm just going to quickly interject myself here because I left off this actually good reason to get a Kindle when recording the initial recording, but I want to include this in the final video. Another actually good reason to get a Kindle, and this does not apply to everybody, but being an Australian, it definitely applies over here, and it may apply in your country depending on where you're listening from. Certain books are very, very difficult to buy in physical formats. They're very, very expensive. Shipping anything to Australia, especially if it's being produced by an independent author, and they have to pay like full shipping price to get it over here, can be stupidly expensive, oftentimes far more expensive than the book itself. And having the option to be able to download that on the Kindle store for a fraction of the cost is absolutely magnificent, and another great reason to get a Kindle. Sometimes you don't even have the option of buying a physical book from these authors from overseas, so having the option to download it to your Kindle is absolutely great. So I guess that's reason number 11, also a great reason to get a Kindle. Get back to the previous video now. I think in general, depending on what you're reading, you can pick the medium of where you want to read it. And I think this really is my main recommendation for what you should do. Overall, look at what it is you want to read. And if it is a piece of literature, like what I'm trying to read, or a book in another language, or something with a lot of historical references or references in general, the Kindle is a fantastic way to read that because you can read it and actually understand it fully. You can gain everything from that work that was intended to be gained, rather than having to skip over things or have a dictionary nearby, and it's quite convenient. I think the Kindle is fantastic for that purpose. Now, other recommendations I can give. If, for example, you want to scribble all over a book, highlight, take notes, books in a way can be used as tools for learning, then don't limit yourself because you've got a Kindle or because you're getting a Kindle. If you want to highlight and scribble, it's possible to do on a Kindle, but it's crazy clunky. It's unpleasant. Just get a book, buy a book and do it that way. If there are books where you want to have the contents accessible to you at any time, like for example, you are a trumpet player, and you want to play trumpet music, you can have a trumpet music book in front of you at any time, and you can close it and open it on any page and use it. Get that in a physical copy, or print out pages at your local printer shop or whatnot and put them in a display folder. That's fine. Have physical copies of that. If you want to read comics, get physical versions of the comics so you can see the color and the pages, or get them on your iPad where you again can see the color and you can zoom into the art, whatnot. So don't limit yourself. Look at what your best option for reading is, and don't look at the Kindle as the only option. Now, if you're going to get a Kindle, and as I mentioned, there are some very good reasons to get a Kindle, I would highly recommend getting the cheapest Kindle, which is what I did. I do not feel like I've missed out on anything by not getting a more expensive model. The only reason I would ever consider upgrading to a Paperwhite, which is the next level up, is its waterproof functionality. And that's not for myself, but if you happen to read in environments that happen to be quite wet, like in the bathtub or the pool for some weird reason, then, or maybe you're just prone to spilling things, I don't know, then maybe you could pay the extra to get a Paperwhite. I genuinely cannot see the point of getting an Oasis. It seems like maybe if you just want to treat yourself, you want something that feels fancy in your hand, but practically speaking, the only thing I think that it offers extra is a bigger screen space. And I mean, that comes with the downside of having it be bulkier and more uncomfortable to hold. So I don't actually see the benefit in it at all. If you bought one, feel free to comment below about why. Maybe I've missed something that's an amazing feature of it. I don't know. I'd also highly recommend, if you get a Kindle, to turn off the back or front lights. Just turn off the lights on it. Use a lamp, use the light in your room. If it's throughout the day, you don't need the backlight anyway, but don't use it, because if you use it before you go to bed, it will damage your eyesight and it will damage your sleep. It's not worth it. Don't do it. And lamps and room lights are pretty cheap. You've probably already got one. I'd also recommend getting a case from Amazon or eBay or wherever you want, but not the official case. This was by a company called Finti. It actually doesn't matter where you get it from, but this was like $10 to $15, whereas the official cases are $40 to $50, and this works just as well as an official case would. So I don't think it's worth spending the extra money on the official cases. You can also get funky designs on these cases, which I don't think the Amazon ones come with. If you really like the Amazon designs, often the cheaper companies have done knockoffs of them as well for like a fraction of the cost, and they're great. So I would recommend that too. And yeah, also in general, do what you need to do in order to enrich your life and to grow as a human in whichever way you want through reading. And don't limit yourself. Do what inspires and excites you. If that happens to be getting a Kindle Oasis, look at this random girl on the internet with the Doctor Who bow and tell her, "Up yours, blue boy, I'm still getting a Kindle Oasis." Go for it. So I hope this was informative and useful. I do wish I'd known this information before buying my Kindle. I actually just feel very, very lucky that I ended up getting the most inexpensive Kindle and getting a more inexpensive case for it, because I think spending the extra money I would have regretted. And I think it's good to know these things, because now I don't have to feel as guilty about going and buying a physical comic or deciding to abandon my Kindle to go read a physical book or borrowing something from the library. So there are some good reasons to get a Kindle and some actually crap reasons to get a Kindle. And I hope that was very useful to you. I hope you have a phenomenal rest of your day. Bye. Thank you for watching my video. If you liked it, I would love for you to hit down that subscribe button and also the bell notification button so you can be notified in future when I put up videos. Also, I'd love to do a massive shout out for everyone who is a part of Ninja Club. Your support and encouragement is absolutely invaluable. Thank you so very much. If you're a fan of what I do, I encourage you to check out Ninja Club. There is a link at the top of the description box. And have a wonderful rest of your day. You rock all the Lego blocks.